Perrin White. Let me tell you a little bit about why she is so amazing. Let me scroll through her bio here because she is so accomplished. She has a list, and I need you to know about all of the things. She is amazing. She is a certified and licensed speech language pathologist with a certificate of clinical competence from the American Speech Language Hearing Association. She has extensive training in the identification and treatment of orofacial myofunctional disorders. And you can correct me after if I pronounced any of these things wrong.
Yeah, you got it.
She had
You got it.
extensive training in the identification and treatment of orofacial myofunctional disorders and is certified through the International Association of Orofacial Myology. In December of 2020, Perrin became a registered yoga teacher and later became a certified yoga body breathing coach and certified oxygen advantage functional breathing trainer. Perrin treats clients of all ages individually in groups and also as families to help retain, but also retrain breathing patterns and take their deepest breath. She also speaks to various groups on the benefits of breath work and meditation, teaches yoga, weekly yoga, breath work, and meditation classes, and offers various workshops locally in Greenville, South Carolina, where she is from. Welcome to the show, Perrin. We're so incredibly excited that you're here to talk to us, to teach us, educate us, and change our lives.
Well, it's AJ. Thank you for having me, and well done on reading that bio. So many ologies and it's and all these long names that basically just mean that I'm obsessed with the mouth, the throat, the muscles, breathing, making sure you can speak your truth in the most fundamental
Absolutely,
sense.
absolutely. Well, I did try to practice the bio a bit because it's so impressive, and of course, I did stumble over a couple of words because because there's so much. It's so dense. How do you have the time? I mean,
You
it's
did
so
great.
incredible.
Oh, well, it's been a long road, and I would say I've been a speech pathologist for over a decade, and the myofunctional therapy really it was through me figuring out that I needed help in all these things. I had all these myofunctional disorders, which basically just means if you're mouth breathing, tongue thrust swallowing, you're not resting your tongue on the right place. And here I am, a speech pathologist, the daughter of a dentist, and I can't do these things. And it really was me through identifying my own disorders and also coming to terms with just because I'm doing something normal for myself doesn't mean that it's helping me or a functional pattern. And so what I would say is as I got healthier, the path got clear of what the next steps were in the sense of I got my speech pathology. I did that for a decade. Slowly got myofunctional therapy. Did that for the past 2.5 years. Got my, actually, no, it's been, well, I started that journey like in 2018. And then once I got that certification, slowly started applying all these patterns that I'm seeing in my yoga practice, and then got my yoga teacher certification, and just gave me new vocabulary and a new lens to basically treat similar difficulties with my clients and my patients. And then I started my own business in February 2022. So it's just my little baby that I've been working on since then, like 7 months, that I just wanted to treat differently. So my whole philosophy is I want to inform you, I want to empower you, and I want you to feel that you are fully supported in mind, body, spirit, and soul. And really, I just start with the foundational level of is your breathing functional? Is it sustainable? Is it helping you or is it hurting you? Making sure that you understand your body, that you understand the mechanics of your breath, that you understand that you can choose how to breathe. So just because, and this isn't my quote, this is Jacko, who is a master
I
a
know
master oxygen
Jacko. I mean,
advantage.
not her, but
Yeah,
over social
man,
media.
well,
Yes.
yeah, the way that he frames it, I just think summarizes it so best. It's like just because we don't have to think about breathing doesn't mean we can't. And just because it's automatic means that it's efficient. And I just think there are so many patterns, the patterns of our thought, the patterns of our breath, the patterns of our movement. And innately humans are lazy or we're smart because we don't want to have to make the same decision processes over and over again. So whatever pattern that you feed, that's the one that your body will gravitate towards. And there's just repercussions. There's repercussions in the morphology of our face and the development of our oral pharyngeal, which is basically just your throat and how much room you have to breathe. And then, not to mention, whether your septum becomes deviated, which then perpetuates mouth breathing, not nasal breathing. So it's really awareness, the support, empowering, and then using the meditation, because I often say, what your thoughts are, whether it's something that you just got triggered from looking at social media, whether it's a family outing or a trauma that you just keep reliving, what's stealing your breath? And your breath is absolutely a reflection of the temperature inside, meaning, are you boiling over with stress that never completed the cycle, or are you literally just having obstruction because your tonsils are too big, or you have a perpetual mouth breathing habit? And that's something that we need to address from both sides. So bottom up is our breath work, top down is our meditation. And then I just get to use the lens of speech pathology, myofunctional therapy, and yoga to help provide a more inclusive and complete package of tools to help my clients and my
Absolutely. And
patients.
I love what you said about bottom up breathing, top down yoga. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Oh my God, yeah. Well, honestly, when I first, have you ever read How to Do the Work by the holistic psychologist, Nicole, I think
I
it's Dr.
have
Nicole
not, but thank
LaPera?
you. I need a reading list because my husband and I
Um,
are going to go on our
yeah,
first vacation in probably 3 years
yeah.
in December. So I need,
Oh,
non-training books.
it's it's a deep, it's a deep one, but there's something there's something that I find so fascinating when I can find similarities in different fields, in different books, in different contexts. So here this is a book on your ego, your inner child, the way you were raised, and she starts to talk about how breath work is the bottom up. So essentially we're using the body. That's also exercise, that's running, that's walking, that's all these things that are physically sending messages afferent, so sending them up to the mind. So bottom up is anything with physical exertion, anything that's engaging the core, the lungs, basically using and contracting and constricting and releasing the body. Top down is our thought patterns. That also can be the breath, but I mean, really, the breath is the intermediary between the two. But the top down is the meditation. So I love visualizations. I love just checking in with your body. I love anything where you get to go take a trip and you get to be a different person and you get to leave this or this behind. I love anything where you get to reparent your inner child. And she was the first one that I ever saw written out that way in a psychology self-help book. And that to me just was a ping. And what I found is when you own your own business, you get to follow your own pings, and which is probably why I'd been so unhappy, of course, learning along the way with every single job, but I ultimately know like this is what I'm meant to do because the pings that I'm hearing are not necessarily understood or welcomed or um, billable or have a code, have a diagnostic code, or have a specific diagnosis. But what I know to be true from my own personal experience, from my professional experience, from basically being a human in 2022 is that we need more tools. And this is a closed system, this whole body. This is one closed unit. You don't make it out alive. It's an inside job. The strength that you have has got to come from the inside out, not from the outside in. And we have two parts connected with our vagus nerve. So I want to make sure the head can talk to the body can talk to the mind. And then at the same time, we're bringing in more resources. So as a speech therapist, we would write notes about ways that we were working on, like, let's say, articulation skills. We use tactile, visual, verbal cues. Well, it turns out we all need help. So I want you to feel your muscles. I want you to basically engage your muscles. I want you to see your muscles move, and then I want you to actually integrate it all together. So the more that we can take all of our senses, whether it be sight, taste, smell, sound, a video recording, an audio recording, something you play back. I mean, I want to incorporate every single possible method of learning into whatever practice you need. And that's probably been the biggest benefit of where I am now, is that I've learned how to bring in so many different components so that we can find a way for you to advance. We can find a way for the client to make that connection, meeting them wherever they are, whatever their struggles are. What do you need? What do you define as success? Um, Making sure it's very client
Absolutely.
specific.
I love that you're such an open and effective learner, and you're also an open and effective teacher. I see that. I mean, based on your clear, long list of accomplishments, and I see how you absorb, and I'm assuming that that evolves your teaching, and you're able to deliver that effectively to your, to your clients, to your patients. I have a couple questions for you regarding that.
Oh, yeah.
What was your big aha moment that transitioned you from a world of speech pathology to breath work? And also, what led you to an
Yeah.
oxygen advantage certification? As that certification,
Yeah.
that world,
Yeah.
that Patrick McCowan world, is becoming, much bigger, and a lot more individuals are
Oh,
becoming aware of nasal breathing and the benefits. And tell me a little bit about that story.
yeah. I will. So, had been doing speech pathology for a while. Then, within speech pathology, myofunctional therapy, which very much is just honing in specifically of the muscles, mouth, face, throat, the way we swallow, the way we rest, our patterns there. I talked about my dad earlier. He's a retired dentist, and he specified and specialized in sleep dental medicine. He'd always told me about myofunctional therapy, and he had told me about Patrick McEwen. He had told me about the oxygen advantage. Of course, when your dad tells you something, it
Run
sometimes
the other
doesn't
way.
always land, or it takes a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, as I started, like, he'd been talking about sleep apnea, all these things for a really long time, and like mouth taping. And he actually, what I love about my dad is he actually does all this stuff. So he mouth taped himself. He got his deviated septum fixed. He got his tongue tie released. And we're talking a man in his like late 60s. So I was like, okay, either dad's crazy or there's something to it. It made me look more into it. And so as I started into more myofunctional therapy, and then of course pandemic hits, but that's what led me to specifically get more training in yoga, because I just knew that I needed psychologically something. Ooh,
Oh,
hold on, my dog. Sorry, I got my dog in my lap. The truck just
me
passed.
with
All
my
right,
3-year-old, you with your
we're still
dog.
good.
It's laid back
But
here.
yeah, I mean, it really. Oh, there she goes. Sorry. This is Vanna White, also very helpful during the pandemic. So
Yeah.
yoga and my dog. What I would tell you is I started teaching a breathwork and meditation class after my yoga certification, after I got like a 2 week like online coaching, because I was like, okay, I can do breathing with my clients, but I want more. And I wasn't planning on teaching yoga, but I just took this one to do the breathwork and meditation, because it wasn't the movement of yoga, it was the more foundational breath. And I was writing my own meditations. I was writing my own meditations of the things that I was having hard time with, and I just was finding myself changing. I was changing, I was evolving. I grew out of the shape that I was in. I literally broke my heart open, and love just poured out, and I knew that I got to explore this. I loved it. I was having such great results in a such different setting and platform and medium than I'd been able to ever reach in a clinical setting. And I decided that this is worth exploring, that this is what I'm meant to do. And then you had also asked about the Oxygen Advantage. That was the second training that I got post getting my yoga teacher certification in this little 2 week one. And so there's different levels of the Oxygen Advantage. This is just the bare, like the bare minimum, the very first level, which is the functional trainer. And what I loved is I just knew a lot of it, or recognized a lot of it from all the work that I'd done to get my certification in oral facial myology. So what I loved is it gave me a different lens to look at something similar. And what I would say is I'm always blending. I'm always blending a combination of speech pathology techniques, of myofunctional therapy techniques, of oxygen advantage techniques, and then as well as just psychological, like self-help. What do we need? Feeling it in your body, lots of the somatic components as well. On my list of things that I'm still reaching for, I really want the advanced oxygen advantage trainer. So there's, I think, just the functional training and then the advanced and then like a master trainer. And I'm not looking necessarily to master, but I definitely know that I want to learn more. I think there's a lot of interesting and juicy knowledge and a lot that has yet to be understood in my body of the levels and the extents that we can take this. But what I think is so amazing, especially from his book, Oxygen Advantage, and the training that I have done, is just our understanding of CO2 and our CO2 tolerance or intolerance, just meaning how well are we able to sit with not taking a breath all the time. And what's mind-boggling is if we can slow down our breath, if we can deepen our breath, if we can start to maybe train and a little bit of those CO2 breath holding situations, not necessarily to pass out or to distress our body, but just to start to change the needle. That is a really great gateway into changing our overall breathing patterns. And I'm always interested in patterns. I always want to practice what I want your body to do at rest and when we're unconscious and when we're asleep. And definitely nasal breathing, longer breaths, breathing more easily, breathing more deeply. Those are all things that are going to help you sleep better, feel better, handle stressful situations better. And as it turns out, it's going to help you with your vocal quality, also your mental health, also your overall physical health, your ability to be present in a situation. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and the Oxygen Advantage, I think, provides a really great framework just for individuals that are interested in learning more, that gives plenty of scientific background and plenty of examples and supports to be able to learn.
Yes, I really love.
I'm
Oh my
giving you
gosh, no, it's
really long
amazing. It's
answers. I hope.
amazing. It's funny because like your dog barked, and then my 3-year-old was here at the beginning of the podcast. And now, now my 6-year-old son, we're like in the studio. In our studio, we also have like a piano. And, like, my son was just on his piano lesson, and he's like, "I want to be part of this podcast." Anyway, maybe we'll cut that out. Maybe we won't. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's all relatable.
I'll say, I think
It's called
it's called
life. Like,
life.
dealing
Life.
with pets
Life,
and
yeah.
kids and the whole thing. But to speak more on the carbon dioxide tolerance and the carbon dioxide threshold, I am just obsessed with the endless list of benefits of training to increase your carbon
Yeah.
dioxide tolerance. When I started just training general exercisers and athletes, I first learned about simply training cardiovascular exercise improves your carbon dioxide tolerance. But you can train it so much more effectively when you're controlling your breathing during workouts. And so in my methodology, I'm a personal trainer, and I now with clients and with group classes, I have a very specific choreographed breathing pattern that improves carbon dioxide tolerance. And then we also do add low levels of breath retentions within the workout. And it was, really, I was very inspired by, I think, someone that Patrick McCowan was really inspired by, which is this French physiologist, Xavier Warrens. And he has this whole laboratory. It's a hypoxic laboratory who works with a lot of physiologists who also study altitude training. And it was really interesting because I did my graduate paper on hypoxic training and altitude training, and it was just so fascinating to me that you could actually adapt physically to these lower levels of oxygen with just training your breath, and doing these breath holds. So I'm very familiar with that, and I'm really curious to hear about how you train your train the breathing or orchestrate the breathing while you are conducting your yoga classes.
So I definitely make sure I gauge my audience. If it's maybe their first one, I probably use more broader terms. If it's a more seasoned yoga class that's been with me for a while, we might use some more esoteric. But we always want to make sure we understand when the diaphragm contracts, that our belly will either rise, our side ribs will expand, that back body will expand, and then having them actually feel their belly, their side ribs, their back ribs, whether in child's pose or on their back or putting a block, just in some fashion engaging a tactile, tangible cue. And then from there, we do lots of actual breathing shapes where we're counting. I love the counting because that engages the amygdala, and the amygdala is where anxieties and worries live, but it also is where our center for counting lives. And we're notoriously bad at multitasking. So that's a really easy, tangible way to help bring mindfulness into the breath. And then I usually do some kind of nasal unblocking, some kind of engagement of alternate nostril breathing, something to help clear out the nose, because despite your best efforts, if your nose is clogged, you're going to mouth breathe. And then I always include keeping the tongue up to the palate, fully suctioned, making sure we engage that intraoral pressure that's allowing your unblocked nose to pull the air down into your throat and into your lungs, deepening and lengthening your breath. And just depending on the time of the class, the shape of the class, the size, and what format it is, I always make sure that we bring that to it. And then as we go through movements through the actual class itself, I always am cueing when to breathe, whether it's like side ribs we want to expand, back ribs, belly, just all those cues that we began in the beginning. And then, of course, at the end, I always weave in some meditations, coming back to the breath, feeling the breath move throughout your body, actually breath moving, seeing it, feeling it move all the way from your nose to throat to lungs to core to tailbone, and then coming back up again. And just remembering and reminding my clients, my students, that you've come to this place now, you've created the neural pathway. You just have to keep taking it for it to become more and more
Absolutely. And I love
clear.
what you said about creating that neural pathway. It's that constant practice, that constant discipline, whether it's on the focus, the attentional control, the breathing patterns. I mean, I'm sure that you find this with your students. When you practice in the yoga room, or you practice in any of my personal training sessions, and you regulate that breathing in tandem with movements, you'll find yourself breathing more slowly and more effectively and more safely and more correctly in a more relaxed manner during daily life. And so it's so exciting. I know I'm so thrilled to be, just to be working in the breathwork community as well as a personal trainer and integrating the breathwork. I will say integrating breathing into the personal training has probably been the most profound variable that has contributed to the most effective, the most profound changes in the clients over the past couple of years. And it's just such an exciting field to be in. I would honestly love to have you back on this podcast and train you. And maybe you can even train me. We can do a little trade.
Yeah.
You train me for 15 minutes on your techniques, maybe a yoga, your really interesting mix,
Yeah.
with all just your amazing background. And then I'll train you on a little session as well.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well,
Invitation
tell
accepted.
everyone what you're up to right now and where they can find you.
Yeah, my Instagram handle, which is probably the easiest way to see what I'm doing, is breathe well, be well. I'm pretty active on there, and then my website's breathewellbewell.info. If you want to email me, it's Perrin@breathewellbewell.info. But between those three, you'll absolutely know what's going on. I've got an events page on my website, and I always post about them as well. But
Amazing. Well,
yeah,
thank you,
check it
Perrin,
out.
for joining me today. We are, the listeners, viewers, so excited, learned so much. I'm AJ of hypoxic.fitness. Please join me for classes that teach you breathography, a breathing methodology used with exercise to prevent injury and enhance all systems. Keep on achieving inner altitude. Thank you to everyone.